Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with the Mail. And Gary Lineker will no longer be allowed to share his political views on social media. Oh no, guess I'll have to go elsewhere to hear why the EU is good and the Tories are bad. Leo.
Yeah. So the BBC is bringing out new guidelines following Gary Lineker's comments about... he compared Suella Braverman's migrant boats crackdown and Rwanda plan to the policies of Nazi Germany, which obviously isn't. It's just, all hysterical left-wing commentators try to do that. So he's brought...
Far less competent, probably.
The BBC have brought out guidance for their stars so they don't unduly influence political issues while they're on air. But Gary Lineker's political tweeting is actually very important to him because it allows him to reduce his tax bill. He was sued by HMRC for nearly £5 million, and because they said, well, you're an employee of the BBC, so you should pay taxes if you're an employee. And he said, but no, look at all the political activism I do via my tweets. So he managed to dodge a massive tax bill, which, is great for him because, instead of it being spent on kidney dialysis machines for poor kids, it gets spent on whatever Gary Lineker wants.
I have heard that claim. Is that definitely legally true? I have heard that claim. That's why. Is that officially true?
If it is, I'm going to start tweeting more.
Xing now it's called, of course.
Xing,
posting on X. It's not as good, is it? You have to say that.
Yeah,
so there is a 2-week window. So he's not allowed to post about political things while the shows are on. There's a 2-week window before and after the series, and he can still post about sort of other things he's passionate about.
It's weird. Like that's the headline, and then you get into the article, and it doesn't really get into that element of it, and also like why that would make a massive difference. Like he's on TV at that moment, that's at his greatest influence, but suddenly 2 weeks later, people haven't heard of him. It's slightly confusing rules.
It's a bit like an election campaign.
Well, yeah, but they do say during election campaigns, anybody isn't meant to sort of come in with who they prefer. And the other thing they're saying is it's fine, actors, comedians can say what they want, but they also say that the guidance for everybody who works for the BBC there shouldn't be offensive, aggressive language. When you engage with the public debate, you don't attack individuals you disagree with, don't criticise colleagues in public. Do not promote law breaking. And I'm just like, well, what are you going to tweet about? What's left?
I have to say, it'd be nice to not criticise colleagues in public, but yes, there are various rules. And
do you have any specific examples?
No, it's just a general thing, I think. So how about this? Let's be very fair to Gary Lineker. We like to be very fair here. He has tweeted or X'd already and said this is all very sensible. So he seems fine with it. It's been worked out with him, presumably.
But I don't think you should agree with his opinion.
Right, I should be very impartial. We know the BBC takes impartiality very seriously.
Yeah.
We know that.
Just look at Newsnight.
Exactly. What do you mean? We know that, absolutely. But Leo, can you really police everything? Because this is where we're going. We're going for more and more policing, Ofcom, online safety bill and so on. Whereas what if you just went the other way? You get rid of the licence fee, right? Because that's the part that puts people's back up. They have to pay for it. And then you just let people do what they want.
But that's the thing. When you're paid by the licence fee, which is basically a sort of state-mandated tax, a levy on people, and it's a regressive levy, so poor people have to pay the same amount as rich people, then, if people are paying through this tax for this state propaganda broadcaster, then, surely it should be beholden to some rules. It shouldn't just be a bunch of playboys swanning around dodging tax and tweeting willy-nilly.
God, everybody's trying to get everybody shut down.
Yeah, shut down the BBC.
No, I like the BBC when it is impartial and when it does its job. But if you got rid of the licence fee, you'd help them as well, because that would relieve them a lot of the burden of having to be impartial. And Lineker could post away to his heart's content.
Exactly. And also because the BBC is so great, I'm sure it would actually make more money in the free market.
We love the BBC. That's what I've always said.